Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you a brand new episode of What If Naruto Had the God of Speed Bloodline, guys. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, don't forget to comment down below and tell me if you're new so I can welcome you guys personally. And also guys, turn on the bell notification to see when I post, because I do post a hell of a lot. And I've been saying in my other videos that I'll be posting more of my what ifs on these channels. So yeah, if you haven't checked out Naruto the Vampire God over on Anime King 2, go ahead and check it out. And on this guys, what if Naruto was banished from heaven? So go ahead and check them out, and yeah, enjoy. And stay tuned. So without further ado, wasting more time, what do you say we jump right into this? Begin now, guys. So, a little bit of a recap from the last part that we left off, as Haku returned back home with the group. So they went to the Hokage and discussed this with him, and they had a long talk with Haku, joining Konoha. However, Naruto decided to take it a step further, and agree to his promise that he made with Zabuza, in order to keep Haku safe. So he placed him under his clan law. Hirashin was surprised. However, Naruto was willing to do this, and this would also give him time to mix and expand within these regulations as well. So with that, he showed Haku around the village as he settled in. The apartment next to his was open, so Naruto got it for him. Some time passed, but it did not even take too long for them to come across a problem. The council, yes, they called a meeting to discuss this. When they got there, it was all sorts of problems. They did not want to believe this, refused to accept who Naruto was, as he had to remind them. Haku was shocked, not expecting that Naruto would do this, especially for him. Despite saying that he was his friend, this was a lot. However, he seemed to also enjoy pissing off the council as well, because they were really upset. But the problem was, there wasn't anything they could really do about it, and Naruto showed them that. It seems that they've forgotten exactly who he was, or why the Nine Tails was put inside of him. It was to keep this village safe. The members started to lessen their talk, but some still raised valuable questions. Hirashin had to put an end to this, as it was time that they finish with this discussion, because there wasn't much that was coming from it except for problems. Soon after that, Haku started to train with Naruto in order to get his speed and his warping mirror ability up as well. Despite how fast he had grown in the past couple of weeks, he was just not close to Naruto anyways. Naruto's speed was just ridiculous. So with that, they kept on going until Hirashin decided to summon them for a mission. Haku's first mission for the village, with Naruto there of course, giving Team 7 encounter after they left the village for the first time. Hirashin decided to send a silent guardian over Team 8 because they were going on their first C-rank mission. It was a bandit squad that they should be taking care of. Kura believed that the group was ready, and she would be coaching them through it of course. So when they got there, they came to a perfect plan. Naruto and Haku stand back as they watched as Team 8 got to work, and they were pretty effective in what they did. They utilized their different bloodlines, and it was able to work perfectly with what they were trying to receive, and they were able to save all the hostages. That is when someone arrived. Naruto was the most shocked when he met this person. His name was Kura, and Kura was a Uzumaki. Naruto could not believe it. Kura was really upset though at the Hidden Leaf, saying that they were responsible for the Uzumaki's downfall. Yes, they were the ones to blame. Naruto tried his best to talk him down, but Kura refused to listen to what he was saying. He was angry, immensely so, and refused to give Naruto the time of day. Naruto begged him to see reason, but he would not. So they had no choice but to come to blows. Kura was rather shocking. He spent years training, and Naruto was shocked by his speed, and not to mention his ability. He could utilize the chakra to push his speed to abnormal levels, to the point that he was even able to catch up with Naruto. Naruto couldn't believe it. And a part of him was not going all out as well because this was family. Yes, it's only family that he know. But he had to kill him because Kuroda was insisting on killing all the Konoha shinobis that meant Hinata, Kiba, Kurenai. Team 8. Naruto refused to let Team 8 die. They did nothing wrong. So he fought. The both of them clashed until Haku captured Kuroda into an ice dome. As Naruto saw a way to end this, they were gonna freeze him to death. So yeah guys, basically that's what I thought you guys can. Switch across to the play of yourself, and yeah, what do you say we jump right into this brand new episode? Begin now guys. We begin this episode in the intense battle of Haku and Naruto versus Kuroda. Naruto had just informed Haku of what he planned. Kuroda was stuck inside of the ice dome, something that his chakra was working on breaking. The numerous amount of chains fluctuating off of his body. Haku created a mirror that connected to the others as he placed his hand on top of it. Naruto doing the same as well as they start to manipulate their elemental chakra. As Naruto's plan was to freeze him to death inside of the ice dome. Over to the other side, Team 8 was trembling as the temperature kept on dropping. Man, it's freezing out here. What the hell are they doing? Kiba said as Akamaru jumped into his coat to keep himself warm. They're not in the dome, Hinata said. They're on the other side, pushing their chakra from a separate mirror that seemed to be connected to the others. It's making the temperature drop really quickly. I can already see the frost covering the inside, said Hinata. It is not just inside, look, said Shino. As he pointed, ice was gathering all around, even around them. Everyone back up immediately. I'm not sure what those two are planning, but we can't afford to get caught up in it. With that, Team 8 leap away, knowing that being too close would eventually get them caught up in the attack. On the inside, Kuroda was trying to use his chakra to insulate his body, but despite what he was doing, he was trembling. A freezing mist was starting to freeze over the entire dome. It was almost completely filled to the rim. He had to do something as he quickly raised his blade. He then spoke. Hidden sword art. Sword blaze jutsu. The blade of chakra rapidly launched and slammed into the dome. However, it was repaired in a second. He was shocked. That is when he heard his distant relative called out from the outside. That's not going to work. It's not just Haku chakra keeping the mirrors together anymore. Tell you what, leave the land of fire and swear on your life to never attack another leaf shinobi, and I'll let you out, said Naruto. Haku turned his gaze towards Naruto, surprised. I know that he's your relative, but are you sure that he's wise? Naruto glanced towards the dome. He's family. I have to at least try, said Naruto. Kuroda shouted. You actually expect me to allow the leaf to go on unpunished for what they have done? You naive fool, he said. Alright, fine, said Naruto. I gave you a chance, but if that is what you want, then die, he said. Right as Naruto stopped speaking, the mist started to come over Kuroda. He was completely surrounded. Water then shot out of the mirrors and slammed onto him. It actually congealed around his body the moment it made contact. It started to freeze him as the mirrors started to shrink. As the mirrors completely disappeared, Kuroda was standing in a gem-shaped mirror of ice. Hinata gasped when she saw it. Kiba's eyes widened. Naruto stepped forward towards the ice. As he looked right into his relative's eyes, "I warned you," he said. "I'm sorry." He held his hand up. Fluctuating with wind chakra, he shoved it forward. Boom! The whole thing exploded. Not even Kuroda's headband or sword was left behind. As Naruto was not moving, Haku made his way over towards him and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Are you going to be alright?" Naruto nodded. "Let's head back to the village," he said. Haku nodded as they made their way off, with Team 8 following. Later that night, they all were sitting around a fire and eating. As Naruto was staring off, he had not even eaten a single thing. Hinata kept on glancing over towards the blonde, as she saw that he was not eating anything. Haku nudged her, causing her to look over towards him. "Why don't you go and talk to him?" Haku said. "But I don't know what to say," she said shyly. "Well, you don't really have to say anything. Just show him that you're there for him." "Come on," he said. "I'll help you." As he got up, Hinata quickly followed. Haku stood on the right. Hinata arrived, as she sat down on Naruto's left. Kurenai gave a small smile. Kiba frowned as he was about to get up until Shino placed a hand on his shoulder. Kiba shot him a look. However, Shino simply shook his head. Kiba frowned as he sat back down and returned to his meal. As Haku was the one to speak, giving Hinata the opening that she needed. "Are you alright?" he asked once again. Naruto took in a deep, long breath, as he was quiet for a moment until he spoke. "Tell me something, Haku," he said. "Are you alright? After you killed your father, when he killed your mother, and tried to kill you as well," he said. Hinata, along with the rest of Team 8, was rather shocked when they heard that. As Haku spoke after a moment, "No, not at first. But eventually, with time, the pain got less and less. And when I met Zabuza-sama, it lessened to the point where I was able to put it behind me. You are better off than I was, Naruto-san, because you already have a lot of others that will help you go through this." "Yeah," said Naruto. "It's just the first family, real connection to my clan that I ever met. And he just wouldn't listen," said Naruto, with a frown on his face. He really didn't want it to kill him. He was a connection to his clan, to his mother. He even knew his mother, and yet he just kept on going. Why didn't he just... Damn it. I've lived my entire life without a blood family. And the first time I met someone I share a blood relationship with, I had to kill him for the sake of the village." Naruto said, lowering his head. "This world is a cruel place. But if you have your friends alongside you, you can survive it," Haku said. Naruto turned towards him with a nod. "Thank you, Haku. And you too, Hinata," he said as she had placed her hand on his shoulder. "For being here for me." She did not know how she was able to muster up the courage to do this. But she just wanted to be here for him. She didn't want him to be sad. Time skip. Hokage's office. Kurenai and Naruto and Haku were standing in front of the Hokage. After the two Jonins were finished with the report, Hirashin leaned forward. "So, there was a Uzumaki survivor in the area. I have to admit, I thought your mother was the only survivor, Naruto. It is unfortunate that this Kuroda figure felt the way that he did about the Hidden Leaf. We could have used his skills and his help in rebuilding your clan. Tell me, how were you handling it?" he asked. Naruto glanced down for a moment before he spoke. "As well as to be expected, sir. Having Haku around helped a lot." "That's good to hear," Hirashin said. "Very well, if there's nothing else, you're dismissed." As Naruto and Haku nodded, as they were turning to leave, Kurenai spoke up. "Actually, sir, there is something I need to ask you." When Naruto and Kuroda was talking, he said he knew who his parents were, and he also gave the name of Naruto's father, and I was wondering if you could confirm it. As Naruto glanced towards Kurenai from the corner of his eye, Hirashin glanced towards Naruto. As he waited, Naruto simply nodded his head. Hirashin reached up as he started to massage his temples, as he released a breath. Yes, he was telling the truth. Her eyes widened as she looked towards Naruto in complete shock. Then that means Naruto is Kurenai, Hirashin said, cutting her off. This information about his heritage is of the top, highest caliber, he said. Haku, step forward. I am so sorry, sir, but why? With the information about who Naruto's father is, be so classified? He was confused. Because Naruto's father has made a lot of enemies before he passed away, more so than his mother, and any other that fought in the last war. So much so that if news was to break about him having a child, countless individuals would come from all over and try to put an end to Naruto over there. It might even start a fourth Great Shinobi War. As Haku was rather shocked, Naruto spoke. You've seen how effective my bloodline can be against multiple opponents. My father took full advantage of that the moment he found out how to get over the tunnel vision. Although, we do not think that the stone or cloud would try to do anything if they found out, knowing how effective my bloodline can be, but we still don't want to chance it. He's right, Hirashin said. Have your Genins made the connection, Hirashin said towards Kurenai. Not that I'm aware of. But should I leave them? Perhaps they could figure it out on their own. Hirashin thought about it. I will inform their parents, if they do know, to not to speak of it openly. Fortunately, Hayashi was aware of this fact for some time now, and Tatsume was also aware as well. And Shibe was a really understanding person. They should be able to run damage control, if they were able to figure it out. With that, Kurenai nodded, as she was still in shock, despite all the signs being there. Starting from his looks, she had never even noticed. Time skip. 2.5 months later, at the Hidden Stone, Oniki looked up from the report that he just finished reading. Is this accurate? He said. Standing in front of him was his granddaughter. She nodded. I just came back with my team from the town, Lord Tishikage, she said. It is accurate. There is a child of a Uzumaki survivor serving as a jonin of the Hidden Leaf Village. And as you can see, his looks are so similar to the fourth Hokage, and rumors are that he can simply disappear and reappear in one spot. Oniki frowned at that. This may be really bad if the wrong people find out about it. We can even go to war if the Uzumaki is a descendant of the Namikaze, and it'd be one hell of a scandal if this turned out to be some Yamanaka who was banished from his clan. Kurosaki frowned as she considered everything that her grandfather said, and the consequences that it could bring. As she spoke, sir, permission to lead a genin team to the Hidden Leaf Village and conduct a finding mission to discover the truth while they take the exams. Oniki gazed back down towards the photograph, the blonde boy holding the kunai handle while the blade was embedded in someone's chest. Behind him was another boy holding senbon needles, blocking a kunai. What do we have on this other boy? Oniki said, changing the topic. Kurosaki shrugged. Not much. We know that he's capable of using ice release, which suggests that he has a bloodline. We also know that he became Uzumaki's partner after he found him in Land of Wave, but that is all we know, she said. Oniki frowned. As he spoke, this will require more than one team to be sent. I am sending 3 teams. You are to be in charge of overall 3 of them. Find out everything that you can about this Uzumaki kid. The secondary importance is this other boy. I don't believe I need to tell you to take note of everything while you're in the village. I will send you the team files tonight for you to choose which team will be going. She nodded and made her way off. Time skip. Hokage's office. At Konoha. You wanted to see us, sir. Harrison glanced up toward the two boys. As he nodded. Yes, I did. I'm afraid I have some bad news. Fortunately, I also have some unexpected good news. For you as well, Naruto. Please, both of you take a seat. They did so, as Harrison pulled out a file. 4 days ago, one of Jiraiya Multiple Village Information Gathering Agency contact sent us a message that he has gotten from the Hidden Stone that we should really know about. Excuse me, Hokage-sama. Sorry for interrupting, Haku said. But what is a Multiple Village Information Gathering Agency? Well, to put it simply, it's a loose group of people who gather information about village and sell the information to whoever is willing to pay for their services. Haku was confused. Why would a village allow something like that? Never mind pay for it. Because these people usually has the best information and they act like an equalizer. If one village has a piece of extreme information that is sold by these people, you can always assume that the village it is concerning will know about it sooner or later. The group prevent war from breaking out by mainly telling their clients about coups, attempts, and alliances that are made. Now, as I was saying, one of the agents sold information to the stone that I think you two should know about. Primarily, you Naruto, he said. Have a look at this photo and tell me if you recognize it. As Naruto took the photo and looked at it, Haku leaned over to see it as well. The photo showed Naruto with a kunai buried in someone's chest. Haku behind him deflecting a weapon with senbon needles. Yeah, it does look familiar, said Naruto. It was taken last month if he was not mistaken. Flashback. 1 month ago, the border of the land of fire between the land of vegetables. Their mission was simple. A mafia gang had set up a shop in the town and has been receiving international taxes from who wanted to use it to cross over to the other country. They were to go in and take out all of them, leave the unconscious bodies, so the joint police could have a one-on-one session with them to find the other criminals in the area. There was just one problem. The day that Naruto and Haku had reached a village, something happened which caused the mafia gang, all of them, to go to war with the police. It was pure chaotic. It took the both of them 5 seconds to understand what was going on, as Naruto erased himself and started to knock people out. Haku using his senbons to take several of them down as well, as they made their way closer and closer towards the police station. The fight was pretty much over the moment the two of them arrived. However, one of his victims that he had burned by running his hand across him to deliver the most painful experience as possible to knock him out, got back up. Haku's back was turned as Naruto vanished. He appeared with his kunai buried in the man's chest. You should have stayed down, he said, as him and Haku was back to back as Haku blocked the slash from his opponent and took him down. The mission didn't last long. Yes, they had numbers, however, comparing them to these two shinobis, they stood absolutely no chance in hell. End of flashback. Unfortunately for the both of them, the agency took the photo of what happened there and sold the copy towards the Hidden Stone. The agent not having information about his parents was a good thing, however. It would not be hard for the Hidden Stone to figure that out. In fact, Hirashin believed that someone already has, as he told the both of them that, not so long ago, I received a message from the Tsuchikage. This is the first time, since the Chunin exams had been brought to life, that the Hidden Stone was sending teams to Konoha. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Isn't there some treaty or something in place that prevent them from entering, Naruto asked. Hirashin shook his head. There was never anything actually legal preventing enemy villages from coming to another one exam. It was simply one of those things that villages did not do because of the relationship that they have with each other. The Hidden Stone is simply taking advantage of that fact in order for them to get information. Most likely so they can confirm or dismiss their theory on who your father is, Hirashin said, looking at Naruto. Well, in that case, me and Haku should probably take a long-term mission and stay out of the village until the exams are over. Actually, Naruto, I still want you to proctor the third exams. If we try to hide you and Haku until the exams are over, that will just show them how much we're trying to keep you away from their sight and make them even more curious. As much as I don't want to, we have to act like we do not know why the stone is sending team to the exams. Naruto sigh. You said you had some good news, right? Sarutobi nodded as he pressed a button. It was the intercom. Mrs. Reynes, he said, could you please send our guests back in? At once, Lord Hokage, its secretary said. Fair warning, one of them has been getting restless out here. The next moment, the door opened as a few people came in. As Naruto raised an eyebrow in confusion and shock, there was 4 of them, obviously. A genuine team and their Jonin sensei, 2 boys and 1 girl, and the female sensei. Each of them had some kind of blade weapon on them, even though it seemed rather strange to Naruto and Haku. They would seem like an average team. However, 3 out of 4 of them had red hair and blue eyes. The other member had blonde hair that was the same shade of Naruto's hair and stormy grey eyes. But what really shocked Naruto to his very core was the headbands on their forehead. They had a swirl on the headbands. It looked like a whirlpool. No way. Naruto spun around so fast as his gaze locked on Hirashin. Sarutobi proceeded to smile at him to let him know that it was true. Naruto couldn't believe it. Finally, why did we have to wait outside for so long, you old geezer? And who are these 2? Whack! The person was hit on the head. Ow! As the boy was clutching his head, the blonde held a fist over his head to show that she was the one to discipline her teammate. The 2 other females on the team were simply chuckling at his misfortune. Rico, show the village leader some proper respect. Ow, Rachel, what the hell? The boy now identified as Rico said, looking up at the blonde woman. Rachel? That's a rather odd name. Both Haku and Naruto thought at the same time. It's your own fault, you know. If you just speak to everyone with respect, you won't be having a headache all the time. Rico turned towards his red-haired teammate and said, Shut it, Reina. Just because you're older than me by 6 minutes, that doesn't mean you can criticize me all the time. Reina's cheeks puffed out. She looked like she was about to rip into him when the oldest one of them all cut in. Alright, you 2. No more fighting. The both of them muttered yes. Tsunami-sensei. My apologies, Lord Hokage. But if I might ask, who are these 2 young men? Hirashin waved the apology off as he gestured towards Naruto Uzumaki. As for these 2 splendid shinobi of mine, allow me to introduce to you the Uzumaki clan heir, Naruto Uzumaki, who resides in this village, and his partner, Haku Momokai. All of the Whirlpool Ninja's eyes widened. Rico pointed at Naruto. There is no way in hell that this guy is our clan heir. I mean, look at him. He doesn't even have red hair. He doesn't even look like a Uzumaki. He doesn't even look that strong either. I refuse to accept this, he said, just before Tsunami was about to scold her student. Naruto released the full force of his intent. His hair started to flutter in the sky. The whole place started to tremble. The power that resonated from him was enormous. And he took it a step further. After his battle with Kura, Naruto realized that he needed to control the different elemental chakras inside of him. As his hair started to flap around, he showed what hours upon hours of working with hundreds of clones can do for you. Naruto's special chakra started to surround his body before forming into a silhouette of a gigantic nine-tailed fox hovering behind him, made from multicolored chakra. The fox then roared in Rico's face as he found himself on his butt, with no recollection of when he fell over. And everything then returned back to normal. The members taking a breath Sarutobi seemed to be fine though, as he had been exposed to much worse. As Naruto noticed all of their reaction, Rachel seemed to be stunned by the display of power. Riko seemed to be terrified. Reina, on the other hand, she was looking at him with respect. Their leader, Tsunami, she seemed incredibly proud of him. Well now, Tsunami spoke up. It's been a while since I've seen someone be able to manifest the Uzumaki presence so well. In fact, the last one was Master UMI. Riko, she said, looking down towards him. I hope that proved to you that he is a Uzumaki, because I don't know what else you need for him to show that. Yeah, he sure is, said Riko. His eyes were widened like saucer. As Tsunami continued to speak, now I'm sure that you have a lot of questions. From my brief talk with your leader about what happened and where we've been, given the fact that Whirlpool is no longer around and just a few survivors were able to make it out. However, let me explain about what happened first before I answer any questions, she said. As Naruto nodded, Tsunami gathered herself as she remembered. Decades passed. We knew for a long time that the Hidden Stone would make a surprise attack on our village. Since we were not arrogant enough to believe that we could repel anything that is sent our way, we decided to evacuate a large number of civilians, with 50 teams to protect them. But instead of sending them to the Hidden Leaf, where we know that the ships could probably be intercepted, we sent them to the east, where we know that there was at least still one continent. After 2 months at sea, we finally arrived towards the next continent. A team of shinobi were supposed to come for us once the war had came to an end. We end up spending the next several years there, mixing in with the populations. Said populations are more technologically advanced than us, but they did not know how to use their chakra before we came there. We began to take jobs there, while at the same time teaching them how to use their chakra. One of these people were Rachel here. As a blonde Rachel gave a small wave, Tsunami continued. After 10 years went by, we had to admit that Whirlpool was almost certainly destroyed, and the Leaf lost the war. But 7 years ago, a Uzumaki came across the sea and found one of our mini villages that we set up in the town of Bangkok. His name was Kiba, and he told us that the Leaf had won the war 2 months after our village destruction, and he's been looking for us ever since. He had eventually returned to Whirlpool and found the scroll with an order to go and find us, so he came for us. She closed her eyes briefly as she spoke, but by that time, many of us didn't want to go back. We were comfortably in a place where they had technology unlike anything here. But still, a number of the older generations, they wished to return. Whirlpool was our home, and it was our duty to return back, even if it was just to let old ghosts rest in peace. Kiba wanted to stay, since he finally found the rest of his people. Me and my team volunteered to be the ones to head back to this continent to do a reconnaissance of the village to determine if it should be rebuilt or a completely new one should be rebuilt. Since I have a contract with the Sea King, that would help make communication a lot faster. Our ship landed in the port in Land of Fire, and we came here first to hire a team to help us. But when we got here, your leader said that there was a child of a survivor that he wanted us to meet, and the rest of it you know. The shock of what she said was truly hitting him now. There were more survivors of the Uzumaki clan, so I'm not the only one that can walk in the sunlight. The thought was truly amazing, and he was glad that they were not as obsessed as Kura was, believing that the Leaf should be doomed. Hirashin coughed, drawing him out of his thoughts. Naruto, there is one other thing that Tsunami had forgot to mention. Since the Chunin exams are so close, she wants to enter her team so they can test themselves against the ninjas on this continent. That means they will be here for at least another month. As Naruto frowned, that could be a problem. I'm pretty sure that Haku took the only apartment that was empty that Mr. Atrika's owned, and he really didn't want them to stay in a hotel for a whole month. Hey, How come where we stay is decided by this Akunta? Rico said, before he was once again bashed over the head, as Naruto raised an eyebrow at the word, Akunta. It was Rachel. She had been the one to hit him over the head. Show your clan here some respect, Baka, she said to him. As Reina chuckled at her brother being hit over the head once again. Akunta. Well, it was basically like Baka, calling someone stupid. However, it was different at the same time. He basically did not respect Naruto that much, despite the fact he just witnessed something that literally scared him. That was just how he was. Since Naruto is technically your clan leader, while you're in the village, it falls upon him where you stay, Hirashin said. On that note, Naruto, he said, I think it's time. Naruto looked at them. I think you're right, he said to Hirashin. Hirashin got to his feet as he moved toward the photo of where the fourth Hokage was on the wall. When he took the photo down, there was a blood recognition seal behind it. Knowing exactly what to do after Hirashin had took blood from him 7 years ago to perform it, Naruto bit on his finger until it started to bleed as he placed it on the seal. It took his blood and 4 blue lines extended outwards before it sunk in, revealing a hidden passageway that can only be reached by the hands though. As Naruto pulled out a safe, inside of that safe was a scroll labeled Hirashin. The real reason why it worked. Do not give it to Naruto until he's 16 or until he unlocks his bloodline. He have already read it before, so he ignored it as he reached and pulled out a small key. Hirashin smiled. Don't worry about the council. With a blood seal on the gate, there is nothing they can claim that the house is not yours. So why don't you go ahead and check it out? Alright, said Naruto, as he looked towards the others. Let's get a move on. Him and Haku vanished. The others blinked in confusion. What the hell? Rachel then vanished. Tsunami blinked. She was also gone. Rico looked toward his sister before she vanished. What the? He couldn't get to finish as he was also gone as well. Time skip. The Namikaze household was a 3-story. Yes. With giant gates that range up to about 6 feet tall. As Naruto noticed the trees that surrounded it, he could bet that those trees had some kind of seals on them to tell the owners if someone was able to break in, given the patterns of said trees. As Naruto reappeared with Haku first, and then followed by Rachel, and then Tsunami, then Reina, then Rico. All of them were confused when they reappeared like that. All they saw was the scene in front of them changing. The 4 of them found themselves dizzy. Don't worry, Haku said. Eventually you guys will get used to it. Naruto walked up towards the gate, as there was no lock or anything there, just a seal, applying a bit of his blood. That is when the lock finally revealed itself. It was masked under a seal. His blood worked with the key as the gate opened up. Naruto stepped inside the others, following behind as he looked around. The house had a massive training area that used seals to change the area into whatever you wanted, even using seals to get the temperature like coldness or the heat. Other than that, it was a fairly normal 3-story house, given the amount of rooms and the living room and the bathrooms. Naruto believed that either his parents wanted to have a large family, or maybe his mother was searching for any other Uzumaki that had survived, and this house was a symbol that they could also stay here with them as well. They were gonna have to get a new fridge, as what was left inside was not changed. It had turned into a big messy glob that seemed to hunger for world domination. As Naruto quickly brought it outside and set it ablaze. First item on the list, a new fridge. Time skip. It was 1 week before the Chunin exams. On training ground 12, Naruto and Haku were back to back, standing on said training ground. Naruto held a kunai Haku had, senbon needles. Suddenly, someone rushed after them with a bow staff. Naruto blocked the staff with his kunai before he thrust out his left hand. Wind burst from his palm and slammed into the individual's stomach, throwing them back. He then spun around and shoved his other hand out. Wind blast from it, knocking the other person out of the sky. The person dropped as they roll and steady themselves on their feet. Come on now, Konohamaru, said Naruto. If you're gonna make Chunin 6 months after you graduate, you're going to have to come up with a better strategy than just rushing at your opponent when you're in a battle. You as well, Udon. Don't be reckless. Use your strengths to help you, and use your opponent's weakness to bring them down. But boss, what if they don't have a weakness that we can use against them? Konohamaru said, there is always something. You just have to be the one to find it. Remember what I told you. Every jutsu has a weakness. That goes for people as well. Just watch, listen, observe, and you will see. But just don't do anything stupid like trying that on a S-rank ninja or a Kage 11 ninja as well. Let's just hope that you guys don't run into someone like that right after you graduate, said Naruto. That is when they heard a oof, turning their gaze as Mogi collapsed down to her knees from where Haku had lightly punched her as she proceeded to drop her ninjato. You should listen more, Mogi. I know that the sword is more direct than a staff or tonfu, but that doesn't mean that you should just rush into a person head on with one. Try to find a flow in your movements and attack without putting everything in one swing, okay? Yes, Haku-sensei, Mogi said as she grabbed her sword and got back to her feet. The three kids looked like they were ready to fight once again until Naruto held up a hand stopping them. He then gazed toward the trees. How long are you going to stand there, Sand Ninja? He said. The three students looked confused until a red-haired boy stepped from behind the tree with a cold gaze in his eyes. Both Haku and Naruto seemed to know that he was there the entire time, watching them, as they weren't surprised, but the kids were. At first, Naruto did not think that he was a threat, so he did not make a move. But now looking at him, he had the eyes of a killer, and not one that was forced to do it. The earlier eyes like those make an appearance, the more unhinged the person tend to be, and Naruto could tell with this one. Judging by your age, I would say that you're here for the Chunin exams. Either way, that does not explain why you're here watching us. So tell me, why are you here? Said Naruto. The red-headed boy tilted his head. You are just like me, he said. Naruto snorted. I highly doubt that. Our eyes are different, said Naruto. I can even smell the blood that is in that gourd of yours. So tell me, what exactly make you and I the same? Naruto asked. At first there was nothing. He did not even twitch until an ungodly amount of killer intent started to leak from him. The three kids collapsed down to their knees in fright, even puking. Even Haku started to shake at the intent. The only reason why Haku was not on his knees was because he has experienced a lot of intent with his time with Zabuza. But this was not normal. However, Naruto now knew exactly what he was talking about. That bloodlust, this feeling. It was not just any chakra. He could sense it inside of him, lurking, watching. Konohamaru and the others felt the intent. It was blasted away. They gazed over as they saw the entire area around their sensei trembling. Even the ear seemed to be frictioning. Something that they didn't thought was possible. As Naruto gaze was on Gaara, his intent blowing it away rather easily. Gaara, instead of being upset though, he smiled. You will be the one to prove my existence, he said before San overtook him and he was gone, leaving the group there with that strange memory on the forefront of their mind. Haku glanced over towards Naruto. He has completely killed his heart, hasn't he? Not a pretty good sight, said Naruto. Hey guys, he said, why don't you guys go home? Training is over for today. The group did not question what he said. They were still a bit shaken by what they just felt. It was the first time in their life that they felt such a feeling. Time skip. As Naruto and Haku found themselves along with the head of the IT department standing with his second in command, in front of Hirashin, who was massaging his temples, as Saratobi was processing what Naruto had told him and what it could mean for the village. As he spent the last few minutes thinking about what he was going to do with said information, Ibiki and Uncle was thinking about it as well, because they will be having this kid within their exams, and Naruto was thinking the same thing as well. The only difference was, he could physically stop Gaara before he even tried to do anything, while the other two had to act quickly the moment Gaara tried to do something. I really hate to say this, but we cannot simply just deny him entry just because he's revealing that he's a Jinchuriki. That would just cause a whole lot of problems. But I do not like having a foreign Jinchuriki within the village, when there are rumors that Orochimaru is the new leader of the land of this sound. Even if it's a Jinchuriki of an ally, and all of this could be a big coincidence, but still, Hirashin said. Over the years, he realized that trusting his gut was always the right thing to do, and his gut was telling him that something was going on here. Something big. Both of you, he said, looking towards the IT members, I want you to keep an eye on him as much as you can. From what you've told me, Naruto, he is rather unstable, as you said. Jiraiya should be here for the finals, but currently, he's at Ofukagai, and I want you to head there, where he is right now. Once you find him, tell him, I want him to teach you the 5-prong seal, and return. Do you understand? As Naruto nodded, along with the others. Time skip. 5 minutes later, as Naruto stood in front of the house, Haku and the Whirlpool team was listening to him, as he was telling them a few things, while he was going to be gone. Alright, said Naruto, while I'm gone, if you're in the house, you will listen to Haku, no questions asked. Tsunami, that includes you. No offense. But I trust Haku more right now, when it comes to keeping parties out of the house. She simply gave him a short nod. As he continued, next, for no reason, you are to let anyone inside the house. Meet them outside if have to. But I don't care if it's a Hokage himself. No one step foot inside your yard. And finally, if I find out that someone duplicated one of the copy of the keys that I gave you, then you better start praying to Kami, of whoever let it happen, because I'm gonna make your life a living hell. Everyone understood, he said. Yeah, we get it. No wild parties, and no talking to strangers. We get it already. Rico said as he muttered under his breath how it was unfair of doing what, and Akunta said. That prompted for the blonde Rachel to hit him on the head, and the others to sigh. Reina stepped forward though, as she gave Naruto a hug. Please stay safe, Naruto-sama, she said. She then stepped back with a blush on her face. Ever since meeting in the office, and him showing them that he was indeed the leader, well, soon to be, of the clan, well, she's been acting strange around him. The looks, the hugs, the blushing. Thankfully, it wasn't as bad as some fangirls that he had seen, so he hoped that it would just brush over. Alright, try not to burn down the house while I'm gone, he said, as he vanished. Time skip. Naruto appeared on top of a cliff. After a few minutes, looking down toward the town below him, where Jiraiya was rumored to be, Naruto sat down and pulsed his chakra, and got a clear image of what the entire village looked like, and a certain individual heading down towards the alleyway, where there was a brothel. Naruto was gone. Hey. A moment later, Jiraiya glanced up. The old man wants you to teach me the 5-prong seal, and he also wants you back as soon as possible. The Sanin sighed. The only reason why he would want me back this quickly, despite the fact that I told him I'll be back in a month, is because of village security. And given the fact that you want to learn that, well, he'd tell me to teach you that. He raised an eyebrow. Jinchuriki. Which village, he said. The Sand, said Naruto. Jiraiya frowned at that. They were supposed to be their allies. Alright, kid. Let's get a move on, he said. Can't just show you the seal anywhere, you know. As the both of them made their way off. Time skip. It was the first day of the exams. At the Uzumaki household. Naruto! As a voice screamed through the house. I'm going to kill you. Clan hero or not, you're so dead. In the kitchen, Naruto looked up from the paper that he was reading. Bucket of cold ice water. Alarm. A success, he said. He then vanished from where he was as something hit the chair. A really pissed off and soaked Rico looked around as Naruto was now by the counter, reading the newspaper, not even looking at him. What's the big idea dropping a cold bucket of water on my bed, he yelled. Well, I figured that you'd want a wake-up call. That way you'll be ready for the exam, Naruto said with a smile, still looking at the paper. So that is why you dumped 5 gallons of water on me. When I get my hands on you, I'm gonna put you in the hospital, he said. He was now holding a guitar blade in his hand. He activated the sealing function on it, and it split into 3 blades. However, he was suddenly bumped over the head. Rico, Rachel said as she stood there. Don't talk to Naruto like that. And keep your voice down. You probably woke up half of the village already. Damn it, Rachel, he said, rubbing his head. He deserved it. He dumped water on me, he said. Well, I don't blame him. A voice could be heard as Reina came down. We all know that you would have probably overslept until lunchtime. And you're a real pain in the ass to wake up. Rico opened his mouth as he seemed like he was going to scream. However, a piece of toast was stuffed in his mouth. It is too early for any pointless argument, said Tsunami. He frowned as he started to munch on the toast. As entertaining as this is, we really need to get going, said Naruto. Hey Haku, he called out. Are you ready? Yes, Haku said, as he was right at the door, eating a bagel. Well, I hope you're all ready, said Naruto as he looked at all of them. They seemed like they wanted to go back to sleep, and Rico's eye was twitching, but he was still munching on the toast. Today was a big day, as there was more things coming than any one of them would even be ready to expect. Naruto had no idea waking up today what a colossal, epic event was going to happen in his life soon. Something that would make the entire world know his name. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications they posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And don't forget to comment down below and tell me if you're new so I can welcome you guys personally. So yeah, without further ado, waste no more time. What do you say we get the hell out of here? See you guys soon. Peace.